if you're someone who's anxiously checking your phone or like you send someone a text and then your thoughts are pinging to like, oh, did they text back? Oh, maybe I'll go check my phone. Oh, it's been 4 hours. Maybe I
Right, have
shouldn't
they
have said
texted me
that.
back?
Like, if you're in that anxious spiral, so many people are taught to change the behavior. Like, oh, stop checking your phone. Or like, oh, when
Mhm.
that thing comes in,
Mm.
do this instead. And it's like,
Mhm.
we're not getting to the root cause.
Mhm.
We're trying to slap a Band-Aid over a symptom, and we're just gonna get stuck in a new loop instead. Like,
This is The Body Knows,
where we trade self-improvement for self-trust.
and root personal development and collective liberation.
I'm Anna Alley,
And I'm Leona Waller.
and we're exploring the revolutionary idea that your nervous system
With all its seemingly extra reactions
is actually incredibly wise. We're using somatics
and embodiment,
to reclaim the parts of ourselves we were taught to lock away.
our rage, our sensitivity, our wildness, our desire.
Basically, imagine the scientific method meets dancing around a bonfire.
Naked. We're definitely naked. Don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you're listening, and let's get into it. Maybe then what is the root? Or is it like a different for everybody?
No, I think the root is being raised in a white supremacist capitalist patriarchy.
Okay. As a woman.
As a woman. Yeah, yeah,
Cool.
yeah, the like, being born into the system that we were born into,
Mhm.
and being born into a system that teaches us to receive safety, belonging, and dignity from an external authority instead of from our internal authority,
Mm.
and being
Mhm.
conditioned to be a good little girl. And
Mhm.
we receive a sense of safety, belonging, and dignity when we are agreeable and warm and
Mhm.
comforting. And we're labeled as difficult or bossy or dramatic when we're not.
Mhm.
And how that shapes a person, how that shapes a psyche, your emotions, and your own body.
Mhm.
And, so much of what a lot of us are going through today, like, we're talking about these things in important ways, and also, like, we're fucking missing the point. And again, we're just, like, trying to slap Band-Aids on things.
Mhm.
And so I think, when I initially was trying to type up this outline for you, this piece that came in was decentering the male gaze,
Mhm.
because that feels like a really important understanding and strategy
Mhm.
in making change in our personal lives.
Yeah.
And this is something I think this has been on my mind for so long now because, for the past like what, 3 years that I've been working with clients, with every single woman at some point, this theme comes up
Mm. Oh.
of like yeah, and specifically, and so like this is the phrase that I go to now, and like this was my experience too, right? Of my desirability is determined by their desire for me.
Yeah.
And like sometimes I say that to someone and they look at me with like of course it's like,
Duh. That's like
duh.
1 equals 1.
And it's just the perfect example of how deep this conditioning goes. That like
Mhm.
there's not even oh, for so many people. It's like, of course desirability is determined by someone else. Like,
Yeah.
and and how, how this relates to how we've been taught to outsource our worth, our sense of self to an external validation in some way.
Mhm.
And I want to say everyone has been raised in the system. The patriarchy and the male gaze, men and women are both taught to outsource their sense of
Yeah.
safety, belonging, and dignity to the male gaze. None of us are free of this, right? We are all survivors of this conditioning, of this system. Yeah. And today I want to talk about what it means to be a woman in
Yeah.
this system. And like specifically anxious attachment styles. Like here's a crazy buzzword that we're all using that's highlighting a really important behavior pattern. But also so much of this is being talked about changing behavior patterns from the top down,
Yeah.
the bottom up. And
Yes.
if that's like new language to you, that's like my slapping a Band-Aid on the thing, and when the anxiety comes in to check the phone, I stretch instead, like,
I
new habit.
breathe in and out 5 times.
Yeah, no, I take deep breaths, right? This is like top down
Yeah.
versus bottom up is like, okay, what's the root? What's happening in my body? What is my body sensing that it feels threatened or danger in some way to my sense of safety, belonging, and dignity? And how do I reintegrate this part in my body, in myself, to feel a felt sense of safety, belonging, and dignity within myself?
Totally.
Again, a lot of what we talk about, I'm just using the texting example because it's so relatable for a lot of people. But again, we're looking at behaviors or things outside of ourselves,
Mhm.
or like replaying conversations in your head, analyzing, or like the other really common one is I'm the chill girl. Nothing really
Mhm.
bothers me. Like, oh, it's okay. Like, I get it, you know?
Totally. Or, like, the one that I feel is like, "Oh, how do I text him the right way?"
Oh,
Like,
yes.
how do I present whatever I'm feeling in this way that is, like, still feminine and still flirty and still mysterious, but still, like, loving? Like,
Oh,
instead of
yeah.
just being like,
How do I do it in a way that keeps me desirable to them?
"Yes, yes. How do I do it in a way that draws them closer to me?" Because if they're not drawn into me, that is a problem, that is my fault. That means I will die alone.
Right, right, right. And, like, and that goes back to this system within us that's constantly tracking and scanning our sensory experience, what we see, what we hear, what we touch, what we smell, what we taste, and determining safety, threat, or danger with regards to our sense of safety, belonging, connection, welcomeness, dignity, respect, sense of self. It's
Mhm.
constantly scanning and determining, is this safe? Or are these things being threatened or in danger? And so when you are raised in a system where your sense of safety, belonging, and dignity is only granted to you by an external authority, the male gaze, then it makes sense that the system within you is going to detect threat or danger. You're going to feel anxiety when they don't text back.
Boom. Can we just like, I need everyone to pause and highlight that thesis statement. When your safety, belonging, and dignity is tied to the need to be receiving the male gaze from outside of you, needing to be getting validation in some way, text back, someone likes you, someone like, however, we all have different ways that we feel validated. You will not feel safe until you get it, and therefore you will feel anxious.
Yes.
You are not anxious. You are feeling anxious because you have this entire system of belief and conditioning inside of you. You don't have an anxiety issue. It is very reasonable to be feeling anxiety in that situation.
This is an appropriate response.
Ah,
If your body has been conditioned and patterned and neurologically wired to believe that you are only safe, worthy, and belonging of connection if this event is met, it's gonna freak out.
it obviously, if the
It
food didn't grow, we would freak out because our safety would be very threatened.
Yes,
It
yeah,
would be reasonable that we would be thinking about when it was gonna fucking rain.
yes, and so, like, the next, like, key next step to this is not a personal failure, and, like, I want to underline and highlight and, like, aggressively circle that for all of you. This is not a personal failure, and in this system, we have also been taught that this is a personal failure. Not
Mhm.
only should you not actually be anxious, and it's actually your fault that you're anxious, and just, like, calm down and stop freaking out that your
Yeah,
partner's not texting you back.
yeah.
It's
Do
this
more
is
breath work, do more meditation.
right, right. Like, yeah, I can't stress this enough that as we step into this understanding and into this work, this is not about then and another thing that women are conditioned to do is to internalize blame in some way. A lot of us are, right? Some of us get angry at the people outside of us, it's your fault. Some of
Mhm,
us get angry at the parts inside of us, it's my
mhm.
fault.
Some of us do both.
All of us do both, you know? We tend to go one way or the other, like, if we were to, like, list it all out, we
Yeah,
tend to have a go-to. This is not your fault. This is not my fault. This is none of our faults.
yeah.
And, like, stepping into this work in a way that is healthy, that is generative, that is going to create growth and opportunity for yourself means understanding this piece as well.
Mhm.
But what I really want to talk about as well is how it shows up in your body,
Mm.
because
Mhm.
this is key. And sometimes it's hard to think rationally when we're in an anxious loop, right? It's hard to
Unbelievably hard.
it's hard to rationalize and like pick things apart and and but we still have access to our bodies and our bodily sensations. And
Mhm.
so instead of trying to like pinpoint and analyze and come up with a vocabulary for every single behavior pattern that is an expression of my anxiety,
Mm.
what I can actually notice is I feel tightness in my chest.
Mhm.
I feel a pit in my stomach.
Mhm.
I feel this like general, like, I just need to move, this
Mhm.
like buzzing, this
Mhm. Yeah, I
ancient
feel
edge.
yeah, I feel yeah, edgy, on my edge. I feel, like, unsettled. I feel it's like, the thoughts. For me, actually, like, a really big I don't know if this counts as a somatic marker, but, like, the texture of my thoughts. Are my thoughts like a little fucking race car on a tiny little racetrack and being like, "Whoa,
Yeah.
that's not my normal baseline. There's something going on here."
Yeah, that's like a key indicator. Like the words that come to mind are, am I spiraling? Am I looping? Am I racing? Do I have a sense of urgency?
Sense of urgency, also a huge one. If you're like, "If I don't figure this out right now, nobody actually nothing will happen." Like, that's such a big one for me is like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I need to go do some somatic release."
Yes. Yes. And I love that you said somatic release and not like breath work to calm myself down. I know we've said this before, we're gonna say it 1,000 more times, but there is such a toxic idea in the nervous system world that regulation means calm, that regulation means bringing myself back to happy and peaceful.
Mhm,
Regulated nervous system is a nervous system that appropriately responds to what it's experiencing. And
mhm,
when that response comes in, there's flexibility and the ability to move it. We don't get
mm,
stuck in it. Like the important thing here is in the moment, if you have that much activation energy in your system, do not breathe yourself back to calm.
yeah,
We all need to find the ways that we do that for ourselves. For
yeah,
some people, it's dance. For some people, it's yelling into a pillow. For some people, it's pushing against a wall. For some people, it's going
mhm,
on a run.
mhm,
But the important thing is that as we're doing these things, we're staying with it instead of dissociating from it. And so, like, we could
mm,
do all of these things. A lot of people go for runs, or I have friends who like go rock climbing. There's a fine line between being with the sensation as you bring this movement to the sensation and
mhm.
dissociating or disconnecting from the sensation, distracting yourself with something else.
Totally, totally. Thank you for, like, putting that little fine point on it, and I will also say we've done an entire podcast on these sort of release techniques.
Yeah.
You will find it in the description.
Yes. Okay. I feel like I side quested there. So there's this I think the other piece I wanted to highlight, and this goes back to this somatic understanding of safety, belonging, and dignity. As children, as we're developing a sense of safety, belonging, and dignity.
Mhm,
And that's being slowly wired into our system. What does it feel like? What does it smell like? What does it taste like? What does it sound like? All these different sensory pieces. And we're dependent on our caregivers to learn that. And so a lot of the time what can happen is when this is inconsistent, when it is conditional, when it's unpredictable, our system is picking that up because
mhm,
it's always tracking. Am I safe? Do I belong? Do I matter right now? And so when there's instability in that, this is where attachment theory comes in and it has its flaws. It's a really useful framework. And always remember, like, it's not a black and white scenario in the end. But
mhm,
through this framework, we understand some of us learned to reach, to try harder, to adjust ourselves in some way to
mhm,
have these core needs met by our caregivers. And so we
mhm,
learned, this is an intelligent and adaptive survival-based behavior patterns as children, where we learned if I can get them to choose me again, then I'll be okay. Then I'll
mhm,
be safe. Then I'll belong. Then I'll matter. And so this adult expression of, we've labeled this anxious attachment, is wanting someone to want you, wanting someone to choose you, wanting someone to show the effort, to text back, to follow through, to give you attention. And like, I want to note these are human needs.
Mhm.
Very important, right? If someone's not putting in the effort, then maybe they don't care and they're not worth your time, right? But like your sense of worth shouldn't be determined by whether or not they put in the effort.
Yeah.
That's the key distinction here.
Yeah.
And so we get stuck in this loop of like, okay, I'm feeling a sense of unworthiness. I'll use this example, unworthiness inside. And so I look outside of me and I reach to someone in my life, whether it's a partner, whether it's a friend, whether it's a family member. I look outside of myself for it, as I've been conditioned to do. And then they show up and I feel relief. And then at some point, that tension comes into my body again and I reach outside myself. But this
Mhm.
time they don't respond. And so then I reach harder. And so then I change, and all these different strategies start showing up because, again, there's this core disconnect where my
Mhm.
sense of worth is granted to me by someone else.
Mhm.
Mm.
That's so that like, that part, God, I'm sure everybody can relate to this, but we're speaking to women, but that thing of like, I don't know, and he's not, like, texting me back of, like, "Oh," and then we get together with all of our fucking girlfriends, and we start, like, strategizing techniques of, like, "Oh, this is what I'll wear to the next date." Like, I'll send him this kind of selfie, like, all of, like, the tiny little strategies that you're like, "Oh, I just have to shift this a little bit. Oh, I think I, like, talked too much about this thing, so I'm not gonna do that this time." And, like, all of these ways that we're like, "Oh, we just have to shift, 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 shift." And then like, he'll come back, and then I get to be relieved.
Yeah. 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 And then we just end up in this horrific cycle of like the high when they show up and the low when they pull away. And
Mhm.
that,
That
that, that brings me to a piece that I've been raging about
let it rip, Anna. I've been waiting for this
in my
moment.
mind for days now. Maybe I'll start with this important piece of as a woman in the patriarchy, we are not respected. Respect. Oh, there's the word that's just getting me. And this external lack of respect is also an internalized self disrespect. You know, all the things that Leona just listed, for example, all this conditioning of like, how do I change myself in some way to become desirable again?
Mhm.
Bypasses this core piece that Leon and I talked about in another episode, which everyone should go listen to because understanding standards, expectations, boundaries, requests, rules, standards is the one I'm highlighting right now, is key in this process.
Mhm.
It makes me think of this reel that I saw of like someone that said, I need you to hear this. Like if he cared, he would reach out. If he cared, he would put in the effort. If
Mhm.
he cared, he would consider your heart. You wouldn't have to remind him. There's like a disconnect. I experience not being met by someone who says, I'm here to meet you.
Mhm.
Instead of stopping, evaluating, saying, is this person the person for me? Is this person's words aligning with their actions? Does this person meet the standards that I hold for myself and those around me? Translation, do I have self respect?
Mhm.
Instead, this whole scenario happens and we collapse and we say,
Mhm.
how do I change myself? How do I remind him? How do I teach him how to put in effort? How do I spoon feed the person who says they care how to care about me? And as they consistently don't show up in this way, how do I figure out how to help them show up in this way?
Mhm.
Instead of being like, oh, huh, this doesn't work for me. I'm not
Mhm.
available for this.
Mhm.
And again, this all ties back to if I am a person who has been conditioned to have a sense of safety, belonging, and dignity that is determined by someone outside of me giving that to myself, of course I'm going to reach for it. Of course I'm going to develop strategies to teach the people around me how to give this to me.
Mhm.
Because again, there's this core piece missing of I'm not here to be chosen. I choose myself. And then
Mhm.
I choose who gets to share with me. And
Mhm.
that's this missing piece. And that's this like, what does it mean to be in my body and to say, I am safe here in my
Mhm.
own body? What does it mean to be in my body and say, I belong and I am welcome and I am connected? To be in my body and say, I know who I am. This is the ground I stand on. This is what I value. This is my worth. And this is what it looks like to respect myself from this place. We haven't been taught to do this.
Mhm.
And I want to say that, like, again, this applies to all genders
Mhm.
and differently to each gender.
Mhm.
And across genders, we're missing this, and this is something a lot of people talk about. We're missing this like initiation from childhood to adulthood.
Mhm.
'Cause as children, we are dependent on our caregivers for these things. We are dependent on
Mhm.
them to teach us what these things feel like. And then at some point, there is a shift. And
Mhm.
we learn to source that from within ourselves. We learn to recognize the truth of these things from within ourselves. But that doesn't exist
Mhm.
in this current paradigm. So
Mhm.
here we are, stuck in these loops, in these patterns,
Mhm.
etc.
Yeah, I loved all of that, and I just wanna, like, highlight this piece that I don't know if I've someone has probably said it somewhere, but I heard you say it, so I'm gonna repeat it like how you said it. This, like, we've been taught, like, self-love, like, take your bubble baths, buy nice things for yourself, whatever, whatever, and this idea of self-respect and, like, the action of self-respect being, like, who has put in the effort and, like, shown up to deserve my time and my space and my energy, and, like, that, like, living, acting, deciding every day to be self-respecting is not a concept that I've heard floating around, and I think that, like, can we disseminate that into the woman sphere?
This, yes, this. And like, this is something that, like, now that I'm the Instagram algorithm has me pinned right now in the best of ways. And it's been so fascinating. Caveat, thank God I have a blocker on my phone that only lets me get Instagram 30 minutes a day. Um, but I'm having this really fascinating experience now of looking at certain reels that do highlight the self-respect piece and that miss it entirely. And
Ooh.
it's like, it's totally blowing me away. And then these reels that, again, that do highlight, like, yes, this is what needs to change, but we're still centering the male gaze. And and and
Girl, give us an example.
yeah, yeah. Okay, I'll give you 2 examples actually, because there's
Okay.
2 pieces here. I watched this one reel of this woman who was saying, "I've never met a man who left me better at the end."
Mm,
And she was talking about how she is such a strong woman now
mhm,
because of all these experience she's had, but
mm,
also she made herself stronger.
mhm,
And she was the one that had to pick herself up every time she was dropped.
mm,
And, like, damn, I related to that so deeply.
mhm.
But what was pinging me so hard was, why were these men given access to you in the first place?
Ooh,
And that's highlighting this piece
yes.
of self-respect. Not
Yes.
self-love is so intrinsically related to this,
Mhm,
but we're teasing apart a different piece here.
mhm,
And it's like, why is it that we have been so many women are in this pattern of, like, we have rebuilt ourselves over and over,
mhm.
but haven't been taught to protect our standards first.
Yeah, totally.
So, like, there's a big one. There was, like, highlighting this really important piece. And then I screenshotted this one. I loved this reel. I restacked it. I was like, "Fuck yes, this lady is amazing." And then the more I'm thinking about it, I'm like, "Damn, hold on." Okay, she goes, "Women's job is not to dismantle the patriarchy. It's to raise our standards so high that for men to have access to us, they will rise to the occasion and dismantle the patriarchy within themselves. So that they then, as a ripple effect, will make change. Ladies, raise your standards. Be bold, make money, be nourished. These men out here will rise to the occasion or they won't have access."
Mhm.
And like, at first I'm like, "Fuck you."
Yeah, that's where I'm
Like
at. I'm like, "Wait, where's the bad part?"
yeah, yeah, totally, totally, totally. And so, like, I'm not saying there's anything bad about this, but again, here we are centering the male gaze.
Mm,
Raise my standards so that the men will change, not
mm.
raise my standards so that I will know what it means to live a life where I respect myself first.
Oh, oh my god. Yeah, like, raise my standards so, like, that I will have a good life. Raise my standards so that I am only surrounded by people who love me. Raise my standards because of me.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's raise my standards so that the men can change.
Yeah.
And, like, again, I fully support that.
Yes.
Like
Yes, also that.
yeah, but, like, the core for the sake of in raising my standards should not be for someone else.
Mhm.
It should be for me and for my life and living and thriving and knowing what it means to protect and love my sense of safety, belonging, and dignity because it's my life, because I choose me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh my god. That, like, it's just landing. It's just landing, like, how in myself even thinking about, like, raising my standards, not so that he learns a lesson, not so that, like,
That
like, raising
that
just raising just for me? Like, just for me? Wait, that's the end of the sentence? Just for me? But, like, so much of my personal work, so much of my personality, so much of everything is, like, about the ripple effect. Like, for society, and I love that part of myself, like, for society, for the collective, blah, 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 but, like, oh my god, I've forgotten the for me.
right. Not only is that an afterthought now, but it's not the core fucking purpose.
Yeah, yes, where it belongs, in the fucking center.
Yeah. 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 And again, and I think a big part of it too is like we live in this world that are surrounded by narcissism, right? And so there's an important distinction to be made here is what does it mean to orient around self
Mm,
from a sense of wounded ego
yes.
versus aka narcissism versus what does it mean to orient around self from love, from respect, from I am here to live and to thrive and to love and to know safety, belonging, and dignity to the depth of my bones and to share that version of myself with the world around me.
Jesus fucking Christ. Okay, breathing break, where we tell you we aren't just a podcast.
So you're saying it's a commercial break?
Yes, we also run programs around everything we talk about on this podcast.
Workshops, online courses, basically spaces where you can actually experience the transformation we talk about on this podcast.
Are you breathing?
If you want to stay in the loop, get on our email waitlist. The link is in the show notes.
Inhale, exhale. Now back to it. So obnoxious. Wow. I, I like my body is like fritzing out. Like, because I like, yeah, it's like literally the feeling is like, I can't even imagine that. I can't even begin to imagine that.
Thank you for saying that because that is such a reality. Like that is I feel like this just this distinction that has been painted now helps me like I feel it in my body of like where I am, where we are, and this point of contrast
Yeah.
of what a healthy place would be.
Yeah. And like this is simplifying it massively, but this is like the first somatic cue that my brain can come up with that's even related to this is my old coach Kendra Kunov. Amazing. Cannot recommend her enough. She was always working with me on like, are you leaning in? Are you leaning back? What would it feel like to just like be upright? Like, what would it feel like to not be like pushing in or withdrawing? What would it be like to not grasping or like trying to like, what would it just be like to be like, "I am whole and sovereign. Would you like to meet me in this place?" Like, none of these fucking weird games, just like, "No, I'm just here. I'm just right here."
Yeah. Yeah, and so, like, this is the work. And I love that you just said that word sovereignty, because like, the reclamation of a woman's sovereignty, and if we look at the movement of feminism, right, that's been the biggest piece, right?
Mhm.
Guess what? It's 2026. I can own a home, I can have a bank account, I can have a credit card, I can vote. It wasn't that long ago that women didn't even have those rights within our society.
Jesus Christ.
1973, women were allowed to have credit cards,
Jesus Christ.
right? Like, let's remember this.
Free? Oh my god.
Let's remember just how far we have to go and how deep these behavior patterns and conditionings
Mhm.
run through our culture and society,
Mhm.
and all the ways they're manifesting today, all the ways they're
Mhm.
showing up. And so, like, yeah, this reclamation of sovereignty, this reclamation of self-respect, this reclamation of my sense of safety, belonging, and dignity.
Mhm.
Like, this is the work. Here are Leona and I, like, the body is what leads us here. Reconnecting to my body and talk about how women are controlled by the society is our bodies are what are controlled, right?
Mhm.
And so, like, we are here to reclaim our bodies, the shape of my body, the size of my body, what my body is capable of or not capable of. None of that determines my worth, my belonging, my safety, or
Mhm.
it shouldn't. But in the
We're
world we
working
live
on
in today,
it.
sure does. Sure does. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
First step, practice getting in touch with your body again.
Mm.
And I want to caveat there, like, generations of trauma are associated with this question of what does it mean to reconnect with my body?
Mm.
And so I guess I wanted to highlight that first because this is a process that is going to take so much gentleness
Mhm.
and courage and
Mhm.
openness and curiosity and patience and time, and like the the metaphor that comes to me as a rock climber, as a hiker, as all these things, is this is an expedition, not a
Mm.
day hike. There's like a really a slow step by step here.
Mhm.
There's and again, in our dopamine fueled world right now, there's not a quick hit and I'm going to be better, right? Like, this is we are living within a system of oppression, and that is not
Mhm.
going to change. And so this work is not only going to take a lifetime, it's going to take generations. This is a
Mhm.
multi-generational expedition. And
Mhm.
this is not, there's so many people out there as well talking about nervous system work that is really just about coping in the face of structural harm. And this is not what that is about either. But it
Mhm.
is about reclaiming what has been taken, what has been exiled, what has been repressed, what has been controlled,
Mhm.
and reclaiming that within a system that is going to continue to try to do that to you every day.
Mhm.
And using this work to allow you to survive that in a new way.
Mhm.
And I think a really effective first step.
Dude, like, what we'll just talk about until the cows come home. Like, self-awareness, somatic self-awareness is useful in so many ways, and it sounds boring, it sounds lame, it sounds slow, but it's none of those things, and it is the basis. Your body will tell you everything you need to know. If you are
Yes.
struggling with anxious attachment, chronic illness, whatever it is, your body will tell you. So please, for the love of God, pick a way where you are starting to build internal awareness.
Yes. Soma check-in.
Everybody feel your feels.
My goodness. Okay. So most of you are probably like, a what? This is something we talked about in our early episodes,
Yeah.
that I learned in one of the trainings I did called Trauma and Somatics. I highly recommend this, or this training if this is something you're interested in. But they taught us this very simple thing. that is a way of getting in touch with your felt sense experience in your body, your sensations and your emotions. And it's just this really simple phrase: in my body, I'm noticing, and then I'd fill in the blank, like pressure in my sit bones.
Mhm.
And then I'm experiencing, and then I'd fill in the blank with some sort of emotion, excitement. The 2 things don't have to be connected. The key thing is that we're not explaining any of them. We're not cognizing, "I feel pressure in my sit bones because I'm sitting on the ground," or "I
Mhm.
feel excitement because I'm talking about something that I'm excited about." No cognitive. This is about just building awareness of our felt sense experience. And
Mhm.
that really is the first step to doing body-based work. For example, how many of us have been just fooled by the people we've dated? And we're like, "Why didn't I see the signals early on? Why didn't I?" And one of the ways we've been taught to support ourselves in this is to analyze and track behavior patterns. And it's
Mm.
like, yeah, those are really important. And also, my body
Mhm.
is communicating to me too. And when
Mhm.
someone does something and I haven't yet learned how to identify it as gaslighting or deflecting or word salad or like all these different toxic behavior patterns that signify something's not right here. My body, I don't need any of that. I feel a tightness in my chest when that person does that thing. I feel myself collapsing inward when that person says that thing. That is all the information you need to know that something is not right.
Oh my god, okay, personal story. So, years ago, like 5 years ago, I don't know how many years ago, I dated this guy for a year and a half, and this guy was super cerebral, and he was a really big fan of, like, nonviolent communication and, like, kind of the Buddhist way of I'm not gonna put this on Buddhist, I don't know what he did, but he really suppressed emotions. He was like, "Emotions are not healthy, emotions aren't good," so he I don't know what he did with them, but I did not see them. He did not have emotions, and for the it started probably, like, 9 months into us dating, I started to have, like, these huge waves of anxiety, and I would like, oh, and, like,
Yeah,
the what I did not fully cognize, but, like, the story, if I could just, like, what am I feeling? I'm like, "I'm feeling like I'm being judged. I'm feeling like I'm being judged. I'm feeling like I'm being judged." And I remember one time he came to visit me, and, like, that first day he was there, I, like, had to go sit in a room by myself and, like, rock because I was like, I don't know why, but I'm feeling this. And then I cornered him on a chairlift on a ski mountain and got him to admit that, like, he was judging me and he had been judging me most of the time that we were dating. And it was like, oh
yeah,
shit, I fucking knew. I
that
knew the entire time. I knew exactly when it was happening.
yeah, yeah. Yes, okay, that is, like, so the perfect example of just how much we have been trained to not trust our internal authority, to
Mhm.
doubt ourselves, to gaslight ourselves, and to seek the answers outside of us and
Mhm.
not be met with them. He wasn't admitting this thing to you for a long time, and so you wouldn't believe that it was true,
Yeah.
and this is that conditioning. And so the rewiring that needs to take place here is my body knows. I can trust it.
Mhm. There's a point that I wanna, like, pull out here
Yeah.
because we started this episode by saying, "You're anxious when he's not texting you back," for
Yeah.
example, and saying, like, that anxiety is not wrong, but what's happening is that you have coupled his attention with your feeling of safety and belonging and dignity. And so working on decoupling those. But, like, I think for me, a big shift that I had to do was then going from like, "Oh, I'm feeling something," and noticing the automatic jump from I feel anxiety to and now I change how I act in order to change his action. Like, that decoupling
Yeah.
is such a big unlock of like,
Yeah.
I feel anxious. I'm not going to try to fix the way that I'm showing up. Instead, I'm going to look at the situation and look at his actions and like look at if this is a person who's putting in enough effort that I, like, think that they meet my standards, like,
right? That
that decoupling.
Yeah. Yeah, so, like, we're like, we need, like, a habit interrupter.
Yeah.
'Cause what happens is that anxiety is that's the same thing, that's the baseline, that's, like, the
Mhm,
starting point, and then what do I do with it is that
mhm,
next piece, and the what I've been doing with it so far is changing my behavior and anxiously
mhm,
checking my phone and overthinking and talking to my
mhm,
girlfriends about it and, like, X, Y, and Z. That behavior change is like, "Okay, stop, evaluate. What is this landscape? What is happening right now? Is this person does this person's words match their actions? Is
mhm,
there integrity?
mhm,
They say they care. Are they showing that they care?
mhm.
We're all allowed to slip up. We're all allowed to like learn how to
Yeah.
care for someone, like especially when we're first getting to know someone. Is he showing curiosity around that? Is
Mhm,
he asking, how do you like to be cared for? Is
mhm,
and then are you seeing those actions take place?
mhm,
Or better yet, are you saying, "Hey, I really like you, and I wanna let you know the ways that I feel care from the people around me." How does he
mhm.
respond to that?
Yeah.
If you're worried about being a burden by saying those things, A, that's a part of the conditioning. B, if he acts like you're a burden for saying those things, he's out.
Dude, it is so easy. He's just out.
And that is so hard for so many of us to wrap our heads
Yeah.
around. And, like, if someone had said that to me 8 years ago, I couldn't have even heard it.
Mhm,
I am a burden 8 years ago, right?
mhm.
Like, and so I don't know.
And I just wanna share with my ex that I was talking about, when I had those feelings of anxiety, I'm being judged, my go-to, what is it? Interpretation. I like that, of like, what am I interpreting this feeling to mean? So my go-to interpretation was, I'm having an anxiety attack, that this is an entirely a me problem. And so I need to go figure out how to do this on my own now. So that jumping from like, I'm feeling anxiety, I'm having this sense that I am being judged, to I have to go take care of it on my own. Like, I didn't get a chance with him to break that pattern, but like, that's what we have to do, is like
Mhm,
catching, okay, I'm
mhm.
somatically feeling this. The emotion that I'm feeling is this. And now the story that I'm making up is, I need to be better. The story that I'm making up is, this is a me problem. The story that I'm making up is, I've showed up the wrong way and he doesn't like me anymore. The story that I'm making up is, what is the story that you're making up and what are the actual feelings?
Yeah. Yeah. Another quick interruption from your regularly scheduled podcast. The Body Knows is brought to you by
Absolutely no sponsors, no corporate backing. No one would take us.
just us, two women.
Who are slightly obsessed with the radical idea that your body and emotions actually aren't broken.
If you're enjoying the show and want to help us keep it going, you can buy us a coffee at ko-fi.com/thebodyknows.
Funds go towards better recording equipment, giggle resupplies, and the occasional emotional meltdown.
The link is in the show notes.
Okay, where were we?
Yeah, and like, if this is someone you don't feel safe sharing this with, this is probably someone you shouldn't be in a relationship with.
Yeah.
And if like, and I want to acknowledge too, sometimes that comes from us. Like we all have
Mm.
trauma, right? If I grew up in a household where it wasn't safe to feel, to express these types of things, I'm going to project that belief onto the people around me. So like, that's my personal work to do. Sometimes
Mhm.
that sense of I'm not safe is coming from my trauma.
Yeah. Do we have a way of separating this is a me problem from this is like a external environment? Is this an internal environment or external environment problem?
I think for me, one of the big ways is to evaluate behaviors,
Mhm.
is to evaluate words and behaviors,
Mhm.
and to evaluate, like, how do I feel when I'm with this person
Mhm.
versus how do I feel when I'm away?
Mhm.
Set a boundary. This was a big one that I learned. Like, tell them, like, oh, I don't actually like it when people say that. Or physical touch in public right now makes me feel uncomfortable. How do they respond? Are they like, oh, of course, thank you so much for telling me, and they step away? Great. Or are they like, "Really? Do they push back in some way? Valuable information.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Makes me so angry to just imagine.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Yeah. Yeah.
Totally. And now I'm, like, thinking about it all I've gone down an internal rabbit hole. Anxious attachment, avoidant attachment, attachment issues, they are personal issues,
Yeah.
right? That we are then, like, we are taking our adaptive strategies from childhood and putting them on all the people that we see around us.
And
And
so how do
that
we know when we're projecting something onto someone else? And so I think a big piece, and that's where the somatic piece comes in for me, is the more you get to learn the different textures of sensation in your body, the more you get to understand and get a feel for their subtle differences.
Mhm,
And that sense of urgency for me
mhm.
is a really big indicator that my past trauma is being triggered. It's not to say that something else isn't happening in the moment, but
Yeah,
it's very likely that the level of response I'm having right now is disproportionate to what's actually occurred.
totally. Oh, that's exactly it. Like, almost step 1 is like, "Oh, I am triggered." And,
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna go work with this trigger and, like, come back to a grounded state, and now I'm gonna look at the situation from a grounded state, and the
Yes.
key is, and I know, Anna, you have done this as well, is, like, you don't then reground and be like, "Well, now I feel better."
Everything's okay. I don't have to say anything to them.
It was obviously just a me thing. It was entirely a me thing. I don't need to talk to them about it. Everything is fine. And then it happens again, and it happens again, and it happens again. You're like, wow, I'm just triggered a lot recently. Must be the phase of the moon. Instead of being like, oh no, there's something happening that like we
Yeah.
need to talk about and we need to check in on.
Yeah. And it can be and right. And so much of the time it is both.
Yeah.
More than anything, like, okay, what is a healthy, safe relationship? Like, it's one where we can express the truth of our experiences to each other.
Yeah.
And so there's the next piece is like, how do I learn to communicate in a way that is
Mhm.
authentic to my experience and can be received by the other person? And that's, Leona referenced nonviolent communication. That's a really big one. But
We have the podcast also, the felt sense dialogue.
yes, we love this one.
Mhm.
Yeah, but how can I learn to feel safe bringing these things to my partner?
Yeah.
Like, how can I script that? How can I workshop that? How can I
Mhm.
do that either with myself in a journal or with a girlfriend or someone or with a trained professional?
Mhm.
Uh, but how can I learn to like what's how can I workshop the safe thing to say that opens this conversation with this person?
Mhm.
And how can I say like, "Hey, I've been feeling hurt and confused. And I think I have some past stuff being triggered, and I think there's also stuff coming up that is feeling unsafe to me. Can we talk about it sometime?
Mhm.
Or is feeling uncomfortable to me.
Mhm.
Can we talk about it sometime? How can we find the words that are best for us that then we feel safe expressing? And and again, like if I'm with a safe partner and I don't feel safe expressing these things, I got some personal work to do. And it's on me to do that work.
Mhm.
And my partner can be supportive and my partner can show up with love and care, but it's like not their responsibility.
Yeah.
There's a line. There's a balance that we each
Yeah.
hold within ourselves. We each have capacity and space for certain things,
Yeah.
not for others, you know, and our bodies will tell us.
Totally.
Oh, and that was like I saw this the line I sent you today, Leona, of let your nervous system decide who stays in your life.
Yeah.
Like, let your body tell you this is a yes or this is a no, and trust it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's just, like, this spaciousness that I feel like is under like, in relationships where, like, we all get triggered and there's always attachment shit. If you don't have attachment shit, you grew up in a vacuum
Yeah.
and like but there's, like, this underlying belief that, like, "Oh, I can bring this to the person." And, like, I can bring it in a safe way, I can bring it a kind way, I can bring it a generous way, but I can bring this to the person.
Yeah.
And, like, there's a sense of collaboration, like, my
Yeah.
friend always says this, like, it's not if there's something that's a me problem that affects the relationship, it's a relationship problem.
Yeah.
And, like, do they work with you in that? Are they like, "Okay, yeah, like, I'm here for it. Let's figure this out."
Right. Right, and I guess I wanna say too, there's a painful piece of this as women have been conditioned to not voice their needs and not be too much, and men have been conditioned to see women as needy and too much. There's gonna be a lot of people out there who can't meet you in this.
Yeah.
And, like, this is also where I feel like I said the other day, thank God for the women in my life because, man, it's so interesting how I choose women who meet my standards, and I keep
Right?
choosing men who don't. I don't wanna unpack that right now, but thank like, may we find these people. May we
Yeah.
put in the work, and, like, something that is so my friend Boris said to me once is, "No one ever talks about how destabilizing personal development is and self-work."
Oof.
So much falls apart when we start honestly looking at these things within ourselves. Relationships, friendships, like, you start to realize, "Oh, shit, like, I've been self-abandoning in all these different ways."
Mhm.
These are how they show up in relationship.
Mhm.
Okay, so this leads me maybe back to this last part of how do we use somatics?
Yeah.
I answered that in some ways, but I think the big piece here is get familiar with descriptive words, qualities, sensory words that describe, I'm going to say, like the texture of a scenario. Okay, what do I mean by that? I feel expanded when I'm with this person.
Mm.
I feel honored. It
Mm.
feels like home to be with this person. I
Mhm.
feel steadiness. I feel nourishment. I feel consistency. I feel aliveness. Like,
Mm.
get a feel for these words that
Mhm.
you relate with in relationships that, like, are your body telling you, "I feel a fuck yes right now."
Mhm.
And then also get a feel for the words that are your body telling you something is not right.
Yeah.
That's that tightness in your chest, that pit in your stomach, that anxious edge, this sense of instability, of inconsistency. This is like, can my body rest into this? Or am
Mhm.
I braced in some way?
Mhm.
This is the information you're looking for to decide to understand this landscape of boundaries and standards and self-respect and trauma and what is real and what is imagined, and, like, these
Mhm.
sensory qualitative words for me more than anything have been the compass points to help me in this process of healing.
Totally. I really, really, really love that because there's like for me, the ones that come up are like in a good relationship, like I feel so free. I
Yeah.
feel so like playful. I feel so much easiness. I feel
Playful.
yeah, I feel like like I can be whatever and like we're good. I can be whatever and for me and this might be like more of the avoidant thing too is like when I start to feel constricted, when I start to feel like a sense of walking on eggshells, when I start to feel a sense of like scanning, like oh, like monitoring like, when I feel like I have to, like, do the right thing, I have to, like, I have to keep the dynamic going by being the right way, and this, like, sense of, yeah, needing to somehow, like, be the controller of the situation. That's when I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, we we've gone a little off the rails.
Something's coming out sideways.
Something's coming out super sideways." Yeah, and it's crazy, like, just like, coming back to that simplicity, and this is why I also love somatic and body-based work, is it can be that simple of, like, "How do I feel when their name pops up on my phone?"
Yeah, 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 but yeah, gosh.
And, like, I think it's important because you said this in the beginning, like, "Oh, I feel relief," but, like
Right. Very important point, Leona. Yeah, yeah. If you're feeling relief, that means you were feeling distress in some way beforehand
yeah,
surrounding this person. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, so getting, like, a little fine tuned about it, and if you know you have anxious attachment, being like, how do I feel when they don't text me back for 4 hours? Do I feel like a total sense of relaxation?
Yeah. Right. Do I like send the text and not even think about when they're gonna text me back? How do I
Yeah.
get there? Because
Yeah.
I know my safety, my belonging, my worth.
Mhm.
And this text is not dependent on. I know my desirability. I
Mm.
have chosen myself. I don't need them to choose me through via
Mhm.
text. And so that, that piece of like choosing myself, knowing my worth, my belonging, that's a whole set of work in itself.
Mhm.
How do I when you start that process, it usually starts with I don't know,
Yeah.
you know? Like and how do I get from there to like I hold a portal of life between my legs. Of course I am worthy. I'm in a body that was born onto an earth that is air and water and sunshine and fruit and sex and like of course I am worthy. Like how do we
Yeah,
look
totally.
step by step?
Next podcast. No promises. We're still figuring it out, okay?
Yeah, yeah. Yes. I think if I were to like maybe try to put an umbrella on all of this is like how do I learn to reorient myself to my internal world
Mhm.
for the sake of discovering the safety, belonging, and dignity that exists there
Mhm. Innately.
innately, inherently. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And like we're specifically talking about decentering the male gaze because that's a big piece of this. And that's like a really obvious one that we can start to recognize everywhere is how much we orient and center the male gaze. And that's our like point of contrast, our ping point to be like, oh, and back to me. What do I
Mhm.
want? What do I need? What do I feel?
Mhm. Thank you so much for listening to The Body Knows.
If this episode helped you breathe, reminded you you're not broken,
Or maybe awakened a long lost part of you,
subscribe, leave a review, share it with someone who needs it.
and then come back for more.
Because the body is a universe of pleasure and power.
And we're exploring the whole damn thing.